Brian Preston, the money guy.
So it's interesting, Brian, you brought up like second generation. So you're talking about like folks' kids. We haven't even talked about, how do you prioritize paying for college and saving for the kids? When does that come in?
It's funny. I've done so many, because we've been doing this since 2006. I used to love playing Mama, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys by Willie Nelson, because if you listen to the lyrics that Willie Nelson, he has no idea how close he came to being a financial advisor in there. And when he talks about don't let your kids grow up to be cowboys, let them be doctors, lawyers, and such. I mean, that is what happens. If you look at the research from Millionaire Next Door and others, is that typically that second generation is your doctors and your attorneys, because, you have success and you send your kids to the best school. But the problem is that some people use education for their kids. They put that above and beyond saving for your own retirement. And that's probably really the crux and the root of the question you're asking is, Bo, is that when do you fund kids' education versus when do you fund your own retirement? How does it go into the priority? Because we are trying to figure out where do we take that next free dollar. And here's the truth of the matter. There is an entire industry for people who want to go to college. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. Scholarships, grants, student loans.
Yep.
I mean, I just named off 3 things where you can just go find chunks of money sitting out there. Bo, besides Social Security, have you ever heard of a scholarship for retirement?
I have not, but I'd be more than happy to apply if there was one.
And, it's not even needs-based. That's the thing, is that there are no scholarships for retirement. I mean, that's what, I could go so many ways, but I don't think it would be healthy or probably good for the show. So I'm just going to keep it under wraps on what you have to do if you're not making the right decisions and saving early enough. But it is one of those things where there is an industry for education and saving and borrowing and things like that, whereas you're on your own for retirement. So we always do tell people, make sure, and that's why it's under the aspirational goals instead of under the immediate needs. Right. Make sure you're taking care of that 15 to 20% of saving for retirement before you start funding your kids' education.
And Brian, now when you were younger, right? I think this when you were a teenager, you were a lifeguard, right?
That was one of the many jobs between plumbers, bus drivers. Yeah. So, keep going. I had a bunch more.
So swimming, not my jam, right? I'm not exactly Michael Phelps, and we'll just leave it at that. But from what you've told me in the past, when you go through like lifeguard training, one of the very first things that they teach you is like, if you're in a dire situation, you have to make sure that you protect yourself first, and then you save somebody. Or when you're on like an airplane, they always tell you, put on your oxygen mask first, and then help people around you. It's interesting that making financial decisions and getting on solid financial foundation for parents isn't a whole lot different than that. The first thing you have to do is make sure that you're on solid financial footing before you can then help and provide a mechanism for your children to get on solid financial footing. Because what's the single worst gift that a parent can give to a child?
Well, and that's what I was sitting there thinking, because we all know everybody's got a little crazy in their life, and people don't realize they're crazy when they're on other people. Maybe we're all crazy. That's probably the truth of the matter. But we all know people that you look at them and you see their decision making, you go, oh, they're living in their kid's basement. You can just tell they're making such horrible decisions. That poor girl better enjoy all the things she's getting now because her parents are living in her basement at some point. And there's nothing wrong with living in your kid's basement. It's actually, I think an extended family can be very healthy for families, but you want it to be a optional or a chosen decision, not because mom and dad have nowhere else to go because they're broke. I mean, that's probably the best thing you can do for your kids is make sure you're on stable ground so that you get to move into their basement only because they love you and want you there, not because you come to them hat in hand and say, guess what? We made some bad decisions. You enjoyed that Barbie Jeep as a child. Now I need your basement. That's the decisions you're hoping you never have those discussions.